Welcome back to another professional development session with Attollo Prep. My name is Madison, and I'm the director of 12th grade programs. So excited to be here today with you. We also have a very exciting guest who is with us. Please give a very warm welcome to Andrea Shirk, who is the president and CEO of Rock Global. We're so excited to have you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Of course, I'm excited. I appreciate the invite.
Absolutely, of course. So I always typically start these interviews the same way. My favorite question to ask is, where are you from and what were some of your hobbies growing up?
Okay, sounds good. I grew up in Buffalo, New York.
Yes.
And lived there until I went to college. Hobbies, I loved going to the library and getting books. I was definitely a little bit of a book nerd.
Okay, English major here, huge fan.
Yeah, so I used to go to the library and my grandma would get me like, go, you can get 3 books. And then I'd come home at the end of the day and like, I read them all. She was like, when?
We gotta go back. Yeah.
So I did love reading. And then I grew up definitely in sort of that old fashioned neighborhood where I pretty much got up in the morning, jumped on a bike, and then was just gone all day on a bike with friends around the neighborhood.
TV ads. Do you know where your children are at?
Yeah, that was me.
Yes.
And there was no tracking, so my mom just, believed I would come home.
We should probably call the kids. Yeah, very cool. Okay, so grew up in Buffalo. You originally studied mechanical engineering at Syracuse, and then you went on to earn your master's degree in engineering management at Drexel. That's very, very exciting. It's also a really rigorous academic path.
Yeah.
Yeah. What initially drew you to engineering?
So when I grew up, I didn't actually really understand what career opportunities existed. So I really, really wish Attollo had been around at that time. You guys would help me out a lot. But I had a career counselor at school who really invested in me.
Okay.
And I started actually originally looking at college to be a math teacher.
Interesting.
I hate to say it, but most of the women in my life at that point, really just being a teacher was sort of the only option.
Yeah.
And she came to me and said, I think you should think about engineering. And I hate to admit this, but I went home and I cried to my mom and I was like, she wants me to drive trains. Like, I don't understand. I've worked so hard. Like, I'm so good at math and science. No. Why would she want me to do that? And my mom didn't know what an engineer was either. So she was like,
disconnect. Yeah.
She was like, I don't know, Andrea. That feels odd too, but like, you should go ask her. So thankfully, she invested the time with me to help me understand what engineering was. My grandfather was an electrician, so he had me like wiring circuits when I was a kid. And so I was like, sure, I guess I'll give this a try. Really genuinely went and didn't actually know what engineering was.
Gotcha.
But I knew I liked math and science and solving problems and building things, so I gave it a shot.
That's really, really cool. Did you ever imagine that taking engineering would take you into the world of live entertainment?
Oh, definitely not. I don't, it's so weird, and I still think this is true. I think most of us don't even think of live entertainment as that there's jobs. Like,
sure.
So funny how many people are like, I don't know, the concert just like shows up there.
Magically appears.
Think about all of the roles. And so a lot of actually my passion after finding the industry has been helping people like be aware that there's this really incredible space where creative people can, find a living and do something they're passionate about. So definitely not. Only had been to one concert in my life, and so I actually didn't even really think much of it.
Interesting. Can I ask what concert that was?
Oh, yes. When I was in high school, I went to see Metallica and Guns N' Roses together.
I'm incredibly jealous.
Yeah,
that sounds like an
really
amazing
cool.
show.
It was fun.
So with engineering and in your current role with live entertainment, what skills do you think you carry over the most into your current role?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, and why I actually really try to encourage a lot of students around like STEM type roles is I think I learned problem solving the most. So, if you were to like try to remind me of a formula that I learned in college, I'm going to be very honest, and I have no idea. But I learned how to take complex problems and sort of break them down into small pieces and really think about creative problem solving and project management. So like, how do you bring all the pieces together? My specialty, even when I was in college and first discovering engineering, when we would do school projects, it was like, oh, I'll coordinate the work that's being done.
Yeah.
Like, I can see the deadline. I can understand how the pieces come together.
Group leader. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like throughout my entire career, I've been I would qualify myself as a project manager, a program manager, more than I would say I was an engineer.
Do you think that that's an advantage you carry that some other people in the industry might not have an angle on?
Oh, I mean, definitely. Like when I first started, so my first job was at Lockheed Martin, and it was pretty evident that many of the engineers actually didn't have the skill set of communication and organization and project management. And so at a pretty young age, when program management was actually very new.
Yeah.
It was like a new job title at Lockheed. I could tell that those soft skills were really what was going to set me apart.
Sure.
And I liked the engineering. Like I did well in school. I liked to I do like solving formulas. Mentioned that nerd part up front. But I think that, the soft skill part is always the most critical, and I don't think that's probably unique to doing engineering. I think that's probably across any field you get into. So knowing how to talk to people, communicate, listen, which is more important than talking to people, and understanding how to sort of be organized and get people to work together is really important.
Awesome. Before we circle back to the Lockheed Martin era, I do want to touch on the fact that you are a first-generation college graduate.
I am.
That is a fact that I did not know about you,
Yes.
and it's something you've said in the past that you don't take lightly. Can you tell me a little bit more about how that shaped maybe the way that you move through life and opportunities, how you seize those?
Yeah. So my parents were divorced pretty young, and my dad really wasn't around. So it was this household of 3 women, which you can imagine. We had a rule.
Oh, I can imagine.
You could not swear in my household at all until you did a project. Then it was do whatever. But my mom, sister, and I figured out how to repair things in our house, fix things. We were just this close-knit little, we're going to make it through life together. And I didn't have any relatives who had gone to college. And so when I started thinking about that, I took it serious because my mom invested in that, right? That wasn't an easy thing for her to help me pull off. And so I felt a strong commitment to my family of if they're going to invest in me, I want to be able to invest in them.
Right.
I will say I was fortunate. Learning came easy to me. I was really passionate about learning. And so I also felt I had a gift that I sort of owed myself and those around me to invest in and take serious. So I was very proud.
Yeah.
I still to this day think my mom, sister, and I have something really unique because of that experience. I wouldn't want it any other way. Sometimes I'm almost sad my kids are getting so much support because I'm oh man, all those life lessons that I got from that experience.
Yeah, how does that translate? That's so interesting.
Yeah, so I just think that I'm so fortunate that I was able to find that path, and I'm just really grateful.
Sure. It sounds like you came from an environment that really fostered that learning for you, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. So with that story, does that kind of inform the way that you invest in others in your life? I know that you mentioned investing back into your family.
Yep.
How does that translate into your professional experience?
I think there's probably 2 ways it does. One is, I said when I got here, almost that you were thanking me. I'm no, thank you. I love the opportunity to talk to students.
We're so grateful you're here.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, honestly, it inspires me. It gives me energy. So you guys are going to say, oh, thanks at the end. And I'm going to be no, I'm going to leave here so happy. I love the opportunity to talk with students and just give them some inspiration or kind of pick them up. I actually find that most of the time when I'm talking to students, they're smart, they're excited, they're passionate. I'm just oh man, I remember those days. It actually is a good reminder to me to be grateful for what I have and what I've experienced. I also am really passionate about helping women find their way in the workforce. Having come from a mom who worked really, really hard, just to kind of get us through the basics of life and didn't have any of those opportunities.
Yes.
I feel so fortunate. And I've seen, as you talk about some of the jobs I've had, I have truly I worked in automotive, I've worked in defense, and I've worked in live entertainment. It's if you could not pick 3 more places where there are a very unbalanced male to female ratio.
Right.
And so I feel grateful for the opportunity to support women as they're figuring out how to find their space, recognizing the answer for women isn't always go do the highest level career. The answer is figure out what works for you, and sometimes that might be being a stay-at-home parent,
informing what success
volunteering,
looks like.
and all of those are okay.
Yeah.
And so I just really love the opportunity to try to talk to folks about there's not a magic path. There's no right or wrong. What level of success looks like to you, male or female, is based on you and your internal desires, not the world around you.
Oh my gosh, that's so inspiring. I love that. I certainly wish someone had told me that when I was in high school.
Yeah, I think there's this pressure for, I'm sure you guys all feel it, right?
Everything figured out, right?
All go do everything and become this perfect thing and achieve world success. And it's
yes.
Well, I don't know, man. Success and happiness has a very different definition.
Sure.
So,
and when you're in school, you follow the steps. Do your Common App, know what colleges you want to look at, and so you try to plan to the best of your ability. But life changes and things change.
Yeah,
That's
no,
awesome.
for sure. And I was able to for me, it was having a career, and I'm
Right.
grateful for that. But that doesn't have to be the answer for everybody.
For sure. Okay, I'm circling back to the Lockheed Martin
Okay.
thing. You also mentioned 2 other industries as well. These are really big jumps that you've done. Can you tell me a little bit about what those experiences taught you? Maybe something different along each step?
Yeah, I mean, I feel really fortunate. So I don't believe in job hopping. I do believe in commitment.
Okay.
And I do think that but I do think you need a variety of experiences to grow as a human.
We'll call it pivoting.
Yeah, and so, well, I mean, I've had 3 jobs, so it's not like, over a 30-year window. It's not like I've had 12.
Sure.
But for me, I had 3 very different experiences. So Lockheed is, as corporate, in quotes, as you're going to get, large-scale company, process, systems, tools, layers of jobs, defense market, so just a very specific culture, a very specific environment.
Right.
And one that gave me some great foundation of problem solving and tools and how to actually use processes in an effective way. But it was very rigorous. My creativity felt a little stifled. It wasn't totally the right environment for me. I loved when I was there, and I was happy when I got some new experience. I was then at Bose. Super creative company. The owner, Dr. Bose, was still there investing in the company, putting all of the profits back in. I got to do a lot of work on some of the research and development side of the business, new projects. I actually worked with Ferrari launching a new system for
Wow.
them. So it was new technology that Bose didn't even had themselves never even worked on. And, so not as corporate, but still big, still processes, but very creative, a really different culture. And then I came to live entertainment, right? And then worked in a really small company. So I've sort of had a nice variety and mix of things. And I wouldn't walk away from any of them being like, this one is good and this one's bad. I'd be like, they all have pros and cons to them. It's a little bit about figuring out yourself. And so recognizing in yourself, like, do you love structure? Do you love clarity? Do you love boundaries? Or do you love freedom and flexibility and entrepreneurship? And, do you love having a boss and a really structured environment, or, do you love being more in a team environment? So thinking through and asking yourselves, I think a lot of times we get stuck in what career do I want? Forget careers for a second. Ask yourself a bunch of questions about what you like and what you thrive in. I know it is so silly, but I have taught junior achievement every year of my children's lives.
Okay.
And kindergarten is the basics of do what you love and do what you're good at. And I think sometimes we get stuck picking one or the other of those. But, and then we get stuck I need to name the job. And I don't know that you have to. I think you can get a bunch of environments that help inform you over time. So, I've had incredible experiences working on insane high-level projects, big budgets, small budgets, having, a military as a contractor or as a customer to, having a live entertainment performer. Clearly, you can imagine they're very different, both just as needy. I just think that every one of those informed me a little bit about me and helped me then be better at working in the environment I was in. I think at the end of the day, though, if I really were to say, it informed me about others. So yes, you have to focus on yourself, but I think I'll say superpower is thinking about others and understanding them and approaching people as empathetic and unique individual humans.
I think that's a superpower.
And then
that
adapting.
Counts. Yeah.
And so I think all those environments just gave me so much exposure to all kinds of people, truly the software programming person who's do not talk to me,
right,
to the road staff who's lived on the road their whole life and has a very different perspective. And I think that for me, a lot of that, yes, it taught me about me, but it taught me about other humans.
Awesome. I heard you mention small company whenever we were talking about the origins of Rock Lititz. For anybody that doesn't know, in 2013, you actually were its first and only employee.
Correct, yeah.
Which I think generous description to say small organization there. Tell me what it was like to be handed a vision like that and then say, here you go. Let's carry this out. Let's do this thing together. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, so rewarding and so cool. I actually was on maternity leave.
Okay.
And with my second child, knew I was kind of done having children, so kind of thinking about what does that next phase of my career look like.
Okay.
And the owners called me and they're like, oh, we bought this land and we have 12 months to do due diligence. 11 has passed. we've done nothing.
Right,
Can you help us for a month? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'm ready to go back to work. So I came back what I think was a part-time role for 1 month to help buy the land.
That's so interesting.
And I'm going to be very honest right now. I was like, what is the role you need me to do? They're like, well, like due diligence on buying the land and like get financing. And I was like, okay, well, when I got the mortgage on my house, I just want you to know I showed up. My husband told me to sign my name and I was like, yes, okay. So I really was like, I have no skills for this. But if you really need someone. And
that's
like,
a lot of trust, yeah.
Well, they used to just call me the adult in the room. I didn't have a title for years. They would just be like, oh, we need an adult. I was like, okay, gotcha, sure. That feels weird because I still think of myself as a small child stuck in my body. So to this day,
the professional
like,
equivalent of being the mom friend.
Yeah, exactly. But I just gave it a shot, and I was like, sure, give it a try. Like, why not? Like, I'll come in and do it. And man, how fun to actually like take a vision and think through the details. And what was really the blessing is that it wasn't my vision. It was I got to shape it, of course. But like, I work with these incredible visionary leaders, and so at the end of the day, I really love helping creative people sort of find their way to a final product.
Okay.
And so, I spent a lot of time just really like piecing out all these visions and like piecing them together. I do think I got to shift the vision as I got to know it.
Oh, and that's interesting.
A lot of Rock Lititz you'll hear about is rehearsal studios and buildings, which is a lot of what we did. But the key, our secret sauce is actually the community we've created.
Okay.
And the way all the companies come together and work together. And I think that I really got to add a special touch to creating that and thinking that through and living it. So that's been really, really awesome to be part of that.
Right. And Rock Lititz now is this like complex ecosystem of different vendors and different buildings and locations. And so that's a very different experience. So what was it like to watch it grow into this sprawling organization that it is now?
Yeah, sometimes I say how cool and then also how painful.
Okay.
Because oh my gosh, if just one day could be like the day before, that would be super cool.
So every day is totally different for you.
If you think about, we're, 13 years in. And just if you don't know about sort of the complexity of the Rock global brand, we have Rock Lititz and Rock Nashville. But within that, we have operating companies. So we have studios, rehearsals, storage, backline, all of the gear associated with the instruments. That's what backline is. We've added that in Nashville. We have all of the real estate, and then we have all the tenants, but they're tenants within our industry. So like sometimes I'm like, I don't know how I became a real estate developer. But real estate is like a tool to get community of people together. So it's not even like I can apply real estate development processes and practices, because my tenants are like, well, no, I'm coming here because I'm part of this industry. And so I think if you layer in that, and now we have what we call impact, which is education, workforce development.
Okay.
And then we have started some hospitality. So we have a hotel, we have some food and beverage. So that breadth, so we've been not just growing geographic location, but the breadth of services, and they're so different. So my team.
That covers a lot of industries,
Oh man, I mean, it's so cool. Like everyone gets to wear all these hats, but sometimes it's really hard because people are like, I don't know that. And there's so much breadth. Like we don't have a skill that does that. So right now we're going through what I've been calling scaling a business. And so, we went from what I would call sort of our launch and growth phase, launch phase, startup phase. We went into a growth phase, and we're now in this scaling phase where we're trying to figure out how to be multi-location. And it was like almost everything we did doesn't apply anymore. Like the other day I was like, oh my gosh, like terrible. What is going on here? Like all the systems and tools have to shift, because when you're managing 5 people or 15 people, we now have about 80 people in 2 locations, some people in LA, some people in Nashville, some people in Lititz. So we have a whole new finance system, a whole new file sharing system. We're working on a project management tool. Like the whole the organizational structure just shifted to a new matrix organization.
Okay,
it's like
that's
the whole
a lot of
business
change.
Is a whole, like a different business.
Yeah.
And so some days I'm like, this is so cool. I get to solve another problem. And other days I'm like, oh man, I want to go back to that startup entrepreneurial
pulling
fun,
my hair out. Yeah.
wearing multiple hats. But I just, I'm just taking the joys of all of the phases.
Sure. That's such an interesting perspective, because Attollo, we're a much smaller sized organization, and so I would say we're definitely still in that growth era. And so it's interesting of how small something can grow into something big.
Yeah, I mean, we probably tripled in the last 18 to 24 months.
Wow.
So you can imagine that, the stress and change management and team growth and ultimately, every leader of a company, like, you got to wear all hats, right? But
of course,
every leader usually tends to bring something. And for me, I think mine is team building. That's really like where my specialty is. I certainly interact with customers, but like I have a team that's, especially in live entertainment, there's so much history and depth there. But for me, it's been really about helping the team navigate that growth and change.
Of course, awesome. So thinking about those early days, starting much smaller than you are now, was there ever a decision that turned out to be a lot more important than you realized it was going to be at the time?
Oh, wow, yeah, like everyone. Yeah, for sure.
Or maybe many decisions ended up this way?
So many. I guess I'll say a few. So one, when we started down this path, I mean, we really, genuinely, we were not real estate developers. Like, I mean, we had the core industry knowledge, but no one in the industry had done something like this.
Sure.
So we were kind of making it up as we went.
Unprecedented is scary.
Yep. It was interesting. So we built the first studio, and we're like, okay, we interviewed the industry, like, what does it need? And it was very much like, we have nowhere to build. So the technology had advanced so much that for rehearsals, this rehearsal phase, but I'll say more technical rehearsals, there really wasn't a place you could go. You used to be able to do it in a few days between events at an arena. And once it became a 3-week process, it's like, well, no arena is sitting empty that long. They are having a show, and Disney on Ice, and whatever else. And so we started solving the problem of creating a technical rehearsal space for the industry. So we build it, we open, our first client comes, and they're like, oh, the artist is coming. And we're like, that's interesting. All right, to technical rehearsals? They're like, no, we're doing full up rehearsals. We're going to turn the PA on.
Right.
And we got to soundproof the building for that. And so we were like, well, this is interesting. And let's see how it goes. We'll just say it did not go well. Neighbors were pissed. Like, it was not a great experience.
Learning on the job to a magnificent scale.
And imagine also then we had to go to Usher and be like, I'm so sorry, you must leave. Our neighbors are upset with you. And at the time, Live Nation and the teams there were like, we don't understand. Like, what do you mean, your neighbor? We don't care about your neighbors. I'm like, well, we do. Like, that's not okay. So we had to move our client out of the building. Thankfully, we found some space at Temple, and we were able to continue their rehearsals in a much more inefficient way. And certainly not how you want to start and launch a new building. And we were like, okay, regroup. What do we have to do to fix this, right? We're not going to be jerks to a community. Like, that's not an outcome that we're willing to accept. And we were like, okay, no problem. We'll get a team together. We are problem solvers. We've got all these engineers. And then we get a phone call from then U2's manager saying, well, what are you doing to fix the building in 10 weeks? Because I'm coming, or next month, I think it was. So about 2, maybe it was 8 weeks, something like that. 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. I'm coming for a rehearsal. We're like, you don't have a rehearsal booked here? And he's like, well, I do now. Fix it. And
so the demand was there.
Great. We have clients. This is great news. We don't have a building for them. But
what do we do with them?
So in a very short window of time, we engineered a solution. We sprayed 4 million pounds of shotcrete on the inside of the building to soundproof it. And when they arrived, I was still sweeping concrete in the corner of the building that was still like drying and falling in the corner.
Please come in,
And I was like, we're ready for you. I was sleeping concrete all night, but we got it.
Kicking dust away.
And at the moment, oh man, I mean, we got pulled into township meetings. I mean, it was, and then people who didn't even live there were mad at us. We didn't.
Lititz is not quite like an urban metropolis area.
Yeah, and coincidentally, everyone else was busy. They're like, oh, we would love to join you at the town meeting, but none of us are available. Okay, great.
Shucks, doesn't work with my schedule.
So, just like navigating that and the time felt so painful and challenging. And I was like, how did I screw this up so terribly? Like, oh my gosh. But now I've learned everything you can about soundproofing, something I never knew I would have to learn about. We're building buildings in Nashville. We're having zero problems. The neighbors are thrilled. And for me, the takeaway, it would be just, you learn more from your failures than you do from your success.
Very true.
Clearly, none of us feel good in the moment of a failure. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that failing feels great. But what will set you apart in your career is how you choose to handle that failure, what you choose to do with it, how you choose to learn from it, and how you choose to take accountability for it. So we just simply showed up. I'm like, yep. We just missed this and we did not do this right. We are sorry and we are committed to fixing this, and we put the energy and resources into doing so. And so more of your stories as you're going through them are about success. Trust me, you'll like those stories much better. But when you look back on your life and you say, what were those pivotal moments? They often actually have to do with this like epic fail of a moment where you think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to recover from this, or I'm never going to make it through this. And if you have a choice, right, in that moment, and how you choose to show up there is really what's going to, I think, set you apart.
Yeah, that's so interesting you say that. We have 6 pillars at Attollo for our students to focus on when they're going through our recruit process and when they're joining us for the rest of our programs. And one of those is accountability.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that we really prioritize for our students to learn early in their careers. They start their 11th grade year and go through their 12th grade year to finish out. So that's so fascinating that accountability has really become that pillar for you in your own professional experience.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's really, really important. And you will find that more people will respect you when you say I screwed up than if you say I didn't do it, so-and-so did it, and they know that's not true.
That's really important.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so circling back, Rock Lititz has become a destination for some of these big name artists. We've mentioned a couple of them. How do you create an environment where these world-class artists feel genuinely supported? You know, they want to come work with you. It sounds like that demand was there really early on. How did growing that network work for you? How did curating that experience work?
Yeah, you know, I have a really strong philosophy in this, and it is at the core that I treat the employees and we treat each other, and we talk about that. And then you don't have to talk about customer service because it's so ingrained in your DNA and your culture. So certainly customer experience is really critical to us.
Sure.
And I tell all my building people and these folks who've been road staff their whole life and technical people, I'm like, oh, we're concierge. And they're like, what does that mean? I'm like, we're concierge. Like, at the end of the day, someone else could go build a building like ours. I mean, you got to find the money. So maybe not anyone, but someone could find money that could build a building like ours. And so while I'm super proud of it, and I think that we put a lot of thought into the design, once it opened, then it was there. Now it was about how we chose to show up every day.
Gotcha.
And so we hired a team who understood our customer, who's lived their lives so we can be empathetic. And then we just put a really, really strong cultural DNA in place around taking care of each other. So we will talk at our staff meeting of like, what have we done for the cleaning crew lately? You know, like they're coming in at 5 a.m. Like, are we showing them that appreciation? How do we take care of our labor?
That's really guys? Holding a microscope to your internal processes.
Yeah, and I think when you do that, if you're thinking about how you take care of your labor crew who's used to no one caring about them and it just being like, shut up and show up and do your work, like, then of course you're gonna take care of your client. Like that's, it's like just so obvious. So we started really with that internal focus. And it's not that we don't talk about customer experience. We talk about a culture of care. So when we are asked, we don't actually use customer experience. We'll say we just have a culture of care here. And that culture of care is for all of our stakeholders. Right. And that we treat and we think about that care for our team as importantly, sometimes if not more, than we think about it for our customer.
That's really admirable. You can have this people-first approach, especially when there's so many cogs in this machine and everything's moving.
Yep.
I imagine sometimes communication might get difficult. Correct me if I'm wrong, between vendors and locations. And is that kind of a web you have to manage, or is that?
It's like what I've been spending almost all my time on recently. I'm like, okay, gosh, we have multi-locations and multi-businesses. And when you were a team of 10 or 15, everyone could just rely on like, I'll go see Andrea.
Yep.
I'm reading this scaling book right now, and I had this like aha moment, but it's like, as organizations scale, the strengths of the founding leader often become the weaknesses of the organization.
That's really interesting.
Because I could do it so well that my team didn't have to necessarily learn how to do it.
Oh, it becomes a crutch.
And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I can't be the one that's communicating if we have people this size of staff. And that's just our direct employees. If we actually look at like our labor and catering and our hotel staff and like, we're talking about hundreds of people. And so I think communication is something that every organization who does it well still gets rated as bad because it is just something that no one ever gets enough of. But I think it's a really important element of leading a business is to think about that communication and how you do it, and then recognize, the world just takes information in so many ways. So sometimes we're like, okay, we need emails and we need posters and we need, apps, and okay, now everyone's looking at this way of communication, and we have WebEx chat right now, and everyone's like, well, what about WhatsApp? And so what we're trying to actually do is like, let's pick the few tools and focus on what we think is most effective, try it. And we have to remember, so all that is about communication out, but the communication back is just as critical. So where are the forums in which feedback and, input on resources and an allocation of capital, like I used to know every ounce of the business so well and so detailed. It was like, I already knew, like I didn't have to go ask you because I'm like, I already know what she's going to say. I got this. No big deal. Like, I could just touch base like, hey, I'm pretty sure this is what you want. Can I just verify? Where now I'm like, I will get requests where I'm like, oh, wow, okay. I had no idea that was a need of the business.
Right.
So I'm having to figure out and adjust, like, how do we create the forums that allow that feedback and communication of information? And it's challenging for sure.
Yeah.
I will sit here and say that we're giving myself a C plus and we're moving towards a B, so I'm feeling a little better today.
Okay, self-improvement. Yeah. Sometimes asking for help in any capacity is a really challenging skill to learn. So
yeah, for sure.
Amazing. Earlier you mentioned investigating or interviewing the industry to discover these needs and these gaps. What does that look like in practice? Is that talking to professionals that you know personally in the experience and saying, like, what would make your life easier? Or is that just investigating data-driven? What does that look like?
So our industry is pretty young. So if you actually look at live event touring, I mean, it's like 60, maybe 70 years old.
Okay.
And so we, as an industry, kind of created this like small knit group, right? Even when I came in, it was like, oh, you're an outsider. Don't tell anyone you have a degree.
Okay.
Like, don't
when you're in, you're
know.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, And so, but this is where I actually think at the time, I think there was a little bit of like, should we use Andrea for this project or not? Because like I wasn't a deep industry person.
Okay.
But it ended up becoming an actual gift because I didn't know. I had no preconceived notions. I had no idea what was the way we've always done it. Like I had nothing that was grounding me to like, I already have a solution, but I'm going to come talk to you to see if you want to tweak my solution. I was truly like, I have no idea. I literally have no idea. So like, I was given the top 25 production managers in the industry and was like, call them, don't F this up. Like, I was like, okay, yes, sir.
Hey, that's terrifying, actually.
And, and then just like listen and see what they say. And I think that ability to just hear with no, again, preconceived answers allowed me to listen in a really unique way.
Sure. That's kind of a freedom. There's no like preconceived notions or limitations holding you back.
Yeah, and there really wasn't any rehearsal. There was one in UK, but there wasn't like dedicated rehearsal spaces. So it wasn't like I could be like, I'll go study what other people have done.
Right, yeah.
So it really allowed us to sort of create something fresh and new and different. And, each one gets a little different. Like typical, I will say one other caution I have is we tend to swing the pendulum. I think this is true of a lot of things, politics, everything. But we were like, we built one and we were like, okay, here's the biggest problem we had with one. Let's go build two. And then we solved around. Yes, we solved around that one thing and we like lost 5 things along the way. So I am learning how to be like, okay, let's really lean into like what went well and not to brag or just feel good about ourselves, but to like make sure we don't, while correcting, lose some of the core of what did work.
Okay.
So all our studios in Nashville, same thing. Like okay, we're soundproofing these, we're doing this. Like,
sure.
I think we felt like our production offices and like dressing rooms were a little small, so we were like, they're all getting bigger. And then I walked down there and I was like, you guys made the cafeteria like a third of the size. What happened? Like, well, we needed the space for the dressing rooms. And I'm like, except their entire team eats in the cafeteria.
Yeah, the
like,
cafeteria's
that's actually
great.
got to be the biggest room. You know? So we have to just be cautious of that swing of the pendulum.
Sure.
And making sure when you solve for broken things, you don't break the good things.
Yeah,
as well.
and investigating your successes is sometimes just as productive as investigating your failures.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That's something we can all take with us.
Yep.
Amazing. Is that how you stay ahead in the industry? Like investigating or learning how to look at your successes and your failures in equal measure? Or would you say it's more like a 60-40 split for you?
I think I think that's something you have to just build into your DNA, right? It takes a humbleness because, certainly I don't love sitting around being like, okay, please tell me everything I did wrong.
Yeah.
I don't want, right? Like,
it doesn't feel great.
Feels so much better when I'm like, please tell me everything I did great, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm human. But you have to be willing to recognize, and what I'm actually learning, and I said this to someone recently, is sometimes we focus on this, what did we do wrong, which feels like bad choice, bad decision, didn't go well.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's that was right in the moment, but now we're a different company, or the world has changed, or the customer has changed, or we've learned some new things. So I really try to lean into like, what could we do better now that we've experienced it and understand what's different.
Sure.
So, for example, as I said, I'm talking about all these systems and tools work we're going through, right? The, like, not sexy part of the job, but necessary. It'd be easy to be like, wow, why didn't you do any of that? Like,
right.
Well, that would have been silly then. We didn't have the resources or need for it. And so
hindsight is 20/20.
Even with failures, it doesn't always have to be posed in the concept of failure as much as, man, we've learned a lot. Now that we know that, is there something we might have done different based on the knowledge we obtained over time?
Interesting. Amazing. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about how Rock Lititz as a whole is a community of vendors and crew and companies all operating on the same campus. What does cultivating that collaboration look like? You mentioned a culture of care. How does that inform the way that you lead in your role, or maybe your daily to-day interactions with people? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so sometimes it's kind of amazing. I will watch companies at Rock Lititz collaborate better than like departments used to at some of the companies I worked for.
Okay.
Where we literally were like we all work for the same company.
Yeah.
So I think it is celebrating what each person brings to the table.
Okay.
And creating a true core belief and like collectively we are better than we are alone.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean that individually a company or a person can't be absolutely incredible or shine.
Right.
But that collectively we will absolutely be better together. And that requires some form of compromise. So there are times where I'm working with a company and like, this is not what's best for me right now, but it's not a massive trade-off to what I need. So like, where can I like pick my battles of like, you know what, I really wouldn't want to do it this way, but it's going to really make a difference to this company. So kind of teaching people that compromise doesn't have to totally mean giving up on the things that matter to you.
Gotcha.
Because the collective is still going to be a positive outcome for others.
Yeah.
It's a handful of things. One is like design, like how did we design the building?
Sure.
At the end of the day, I always like to say like we all suck at communication. We're all busy, right? We all get stuck in our little bubbles.
Yeah.
And so how do you bump into each other in the coffee line and be like, oh my gosh, like I've been meaning to call you. I'm so glad I saw you. I have this idea. Let's chat about it.
Let's connect. Yeah.
So I think some of it was design of the building
Okay.
and how we did it. Some of it was design of the programs. So they were all, in theory, tenants. Like they sign a lease, they pay me a rent. Like,
Sure.
I don't actually have to talk to them if I didn't want to. But, we would just bring an ice cream truck to campus or create a community event. Like, hey, we just launched we've had it for years, but we just relaunched a new artist in the art gallery.
Yeah.
And did like a happy hour. And then we survey a lot. Like, what types of events do you like? How often do you like to come to campus?
Okay.
What time of day?
That's really intentional. Yeah.
Doesn't mean we can solve everyone's desires, and the answers are always really big. But I think what's really unique about the Rock Global brand is, which I love, and then sometimes it's exhausting. I have like 1 million stakeholders.
Gotcha.
Like every tenant is a stakeholder, and they all have ideas about what I should do with my business daily, right? Like all my clients are stakeholders, the community is a stakeholder. And so I have to just lean into the concept of stakeholder management.
Sure.
And how do we survey? How do we collect input and feedback? How do we just try things and be like, I think this is what we heard. Let's give it a shot. There's some events where we're sitting there and we're like, well, either no one's going to show up or everyone's going to show up. And we're not really sure, but we're just going to sit back and be confident.
Yeah.
Like,
we're going to see what happens.
And then it evolves. Like the community was great. The pandemic kicked our butts. And honestly, if I'm honest, 6 years later, we're still kind of rebuilding the concept of community. People came back after the pandemic, like, I don't talk to people, I'm busy. Like, in our industry was like shut down and then got insanely busy.
I mean, it was a cultural shift for everyone. And
yeah,
your organization is so community-based.
Yeah, we lost 40% of the workforce.
Wow.
So, it was a really interesting time for the industry.
Yeah.
And I think we're still probably rebuilding what community looks like in this, and I think you kind of always have to. Like every new generation that enters the workforce looks at community different. And we do a lot of generational work. So we do a lot of work where we'll bring in multi-generations and talk about that, so that recognizing they all kind of need something a little different and community means something different to them.
I'm curious, pre and post-COVID, do you think community has taken on like a different meaning for your life or organizational?
For sure. So the first phase of community is always networking and socialization, right? Just to get to know each other, connect, right? Like, I'm not going to be like, let's meet and I will share all my secrets about how I do procurement with you and you'll share yours if we've never met, right? And so you have this like social phase, which is fine. I'm a very social person, love it. But for me, what really community is when you get into training and shared best practices and resources and what we call rock talks, like bringing almost like this, but like an expert from an industry, from our industry comes in and talks to our teams. meetups around like all the marketing people get together and like share information. And so to me, that's what community is, where like we are all learning from each other.
Yeah.
And we're also showing up for each other. So we'll be like, oh, we all want to have agencies come see our companies. Let's meet all the agencies and bring them to town and do a collective tour, not one company called an agency and brought them, but we brought a group. So we were doing all that. Pandemic hit, came back. Everyone was so busy. People were like, still not gathering, sort of gathering, and we lost. So we had to sort of go through that social phase again.
Okay.
And so we're rebuilding some of the social and connection and trust to then figure out what does the next phase look like. And what's really fascinating is there's a new generation, right? So it's only 6 years, but like those who are participating were some of your middle managers. They've now moved up or had kids, so they're approaching community very different. And so a lot of what we're serving is the new workforce. So we've been doing a lot of learning about how do they connect, what do they want to do, how do they, what's the interest level, and shifting to figure that out.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so we're just gonna wrap up a bunch of these things that we've talked about into a little bow here. So your path has gone from engineering to defense, contracting, audio technology, and then live entertainment. Circling to students, because at the end of the day, Attollo predominantly serves students. For students who feel like their interests don't fit neatly into a box, we've talked a lot about having your path change over the course of the years, not knowing exactly what you want to do. What is your advice to a student that is currently living that reality?
Yeah. So one of the things that I love doing the most, and actually where I think the Rock Global brand we got to do was, we were like, oh my gosh, this is such a cool industry. Why doesn't anyone know about it? And so we actually started doing these experience live events, which was just bringing students to campus and being like, come experience this so there are jobs. Yeah. We still do a high school day and a college day. High school day is very much about just like, do you know there's jobs and here's the pathways? Which, by the way, we very much encourage. The pathways include directly going to work.
For sure.
Going to a tech program, going to a 4-year degree, getting a master's, and that is really up to what type of job you think you want and who you are as a person.
I think we recently had Attollo students visit the Rock Lititz campus. Yeah,
great. Yep. And they should come to Experience Live as well because it's so fun. Because you get to like press buttons and pyro goes off, and I mean, you can't beat that.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah. And then the college day is definitely a little bit more tied in with a job fair, because those are students who've chosen this path and like now want to find jobs. We usually have about 500 high school students and about 650 college students come for the day, full day experience.
For the day,
yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it's a full day event, large scale programming and then small group breakouts. It's just mentored lunches. It's a really exciting day. And everyone keeps asking me like, you don't have that many employees. Why are you doing this? And I'm like, because I just want people to know this industry is so cool and there's so many great jobs and it is a business. And then we actually launched a 4-year college degree in live event design and production in a partnership with the Pennsylvania College of Art and Design.
Amazing.
But it's on campus so that the students, imagine if you take like externship, tech degree and a 4-year degree and like made it this thing.
Sure.
We really are creating a hands-on experience program, but in a 4-year degree structure where the students are working on campus.
Wow.
And integrating with real projects and going and doing tours in the studio as they're getting their degree, really setting them up for success.
It seems like on all fronts you guys are breaking the mold.
Yeah, so I just wanted to explain that from a live experience, but if I were to apply more generically, I think I have a few things I would say is most 18-year-olds don't know actually what they want to do, and most 18-year-olds, if they said at 18 and then you asked them again at like 50, most of them did not do what they dreamed of.
Gotcha.
And maybe they did some version of it. It doesn't mean don't have passion. It's like, don't stress. Like, it's okay. Take a deep breath. Like, you don't have to have your entire life planned out. Try everything. You might find absolute joy and surprise in something that you're like, I never dreamed I would have loved that. So say yes to everything. Like, get every experience, every exposure you can have. Just try it. At the end of the day, work ethic matters. It matters. And it doesn't mean you can't have work-life balance, and it doesn't mean that you have to like trade off everything. But work ethic matters. People notice it and see how you show up. I also really encourage people, like, also think about work-life balance in the long term, not the short term. Like when I was in my 20s, I did not have great work-life balance. I didn't need it. I was young. I could bounce back. If only those days still existed.
Who needs sleep?
But I worked really hard because I knew I wanted to have kids someday, and I knew that through that phase there would be, trade-offs to like my career. And so I did all those things so that I could get a little higher level early, gain that respect, gain that resume. I had 2 children. I took 6 months off with both of them. And I didn't feel like I missed anything. I didn't feel bad about it. I was a mom. And to this day, I still, my kids play sports all 3 seasons, and I'm leaving work at 3:30 like a crazy person trying to get to the 4 o'clock game.
Wow.
With my hair on fire. And I might have to log on that night. I might take a phone call at the soccer game, but
sure,
I don't have to miss, because I chose to show everyone who I was with my work ethic. So no one questions. No one's ever like, oh my gosh, there's Andrea walking out the door again.
Yeah.
I think if you interviewed everyone who I've ever worked with,
no, your
hard
actions
work would
and
be,
your work speaks for itself.
Absolutely in there. So
yeah.
Trust that there is this long-term, life balance vision of what you want out of your future. And if you don't feel you're achieving it right away, it's okay. When I was, doing some of my first jobs, I was first one in, last one out. It doesn't mean you have to. Work ethic doesn't always have to be I put the most hours in, because I do notice some people who show up and are just very inefficient. But it means, to me, it's not about the amount of hours as much as the attitude you have when you show up, the willingness to say yes to something, the willingness to do anything. To this day, it is still not uncommon to see me grab a broom if I see something on the ground and sweep it up.
Wow.
The other day I was washing the dishes. What are you doing? I wash the dishes in the sink probably every 2 to 3 weeks when I see them pile up. I'm not going to do it every day. I recognize my time is valuable, but I have to send the message that I'm willing to try anything.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do anything. I won't ask anything of you that I won't do myself. And so you got to start living that from day one. So I would say breathe. It's okay, try everything. If you just work hard and you get a reputation as being someone who you can be trusted, you'll have so many opportunities.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay, to round us out, one of my favorite questions to end with is outside of work.
Yeah.
What brings you joy and helps you recharge? We've talked a lot about your professional experience and your life path, but at the end of the day, everybody needs to unwind. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I'm at my heart and soul, I'm a mom. My kids, so I have 2 kids.
You're making time for games.
Yeah, I'm making time for every game. And my daughter's like, I'd like to play 3 sports. I was like, wow,
that's so admirable.
Actually,
on your
4.
end and her end?
4. I was like, oh, that's great, cool. I got this. But I love being at their games and watching them compete and learn to fail and have grit and have good days and bad days. It's such a joy. My son actually just graduated from high school last week, which I have
bittersweet.
Oh man, I'm so proud of him, and I'm like, so just knowing that phase of my life is short, I do get a lot of joy out of it.
Yeah.
And so that's where my energy goes, is being with them, and I like traveling. I think it's fun to experience things and see the world. So my family and I are actually going to Italy for my son's graduation and my 20th wedding anniversary.
Extremely exciting.
It's a big year. Yep. So we're doing that. I'm excited. They've never been to Europe, so excited to show them that. And I like, I'm kind of like a goofy, which I know maybe, I don't know, even at work, I'm still kind of goofy, but I can be very professional, obviously. But, I like having fun. I don't even know, whatever that looks like. It can be like, let's go play cornhole, or I'm meeting my friends for drinks, or, going to the pool with my kids. I just like being active and doing things.
Well, you should definitely stay after for our ice cream social, because we will be playing cornhole in the office.
Oh, okay.
So
excellent.
We will have a lot of fun there.
My daughter's at market too, so.
Amazing.
Yeah, so maybe I'll tell her to meet me over here, because I'm going to have lunch with her.
Okay, wow. Before I hog the rest of your time here, I would love to open up to some community questions, because I'm sure our audience members are dying to pick your brain.
Okay, great.
So if we could pass out some microphones, I'd love to hear some community questions that you guys have for Andrea. Any brave soul want to go first? I see several hands. I saw one in the back starting first. Can we get a microphone back that way?
Well, first, thank you for coming here. I thought I arrived a little bit late, but it was super interesting to hear your background, and I was doing some LinkedIn searching while you were talking to see where you went to school at and everything. And so I was wondering, I saw you said mechanical engineering, and then you worked for Lockheed Martin and then Bose, so those are very different sectors. And when you were talking about the culture and everything, they're very big shifts. And my question is there a trait that you think someone should grow, or like our students should grow, where it's like you might be able to completely bounce between massive industries, but there's still a trait that will allow you to keep performing and keep growing with whatever industry you'll be in?
Yeah, in all of those industries, I was always in a project management role and managing a project. And I will tell you, there was times, especially at Lockheed, I honestly was like, I have no idea what this product, I do not understand this technology. Like, it was like radar systems at one point. Like, I got pulled in. I started at Lockheed working with Coast Guard, and they moved me over into some naval project, and like, oh, you're going to project manage this proposal for a radar system. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. But I, again, found the ability to listen to other smart people and not necessarily know more than them, because that was definitely nothing I could achieve, but help them figure out how to manage that time. What is the deliverable? What is the expectation? What's the timeline? What do you need from others? How do I coordinate? So for me, it's good. The answer is going to be different everywhere. But for me, it was like running effective meetings, pulling a team together, communicating with people, really putting those project management tools in place that I applied in 3 different environments that had completely different sets of deliverables. As I said, real estate is now one. I still am like, I don't know how the heck I'm doing real estate. But I also just was willing to ask anyone for help. So when I started at Rock Lititz and realized kind of what I was doing, I called everyone in town and was just like, hey, anyone know anyone who does real estate that would have a half-hour coffee with me? And just pieced together as much as possible. So it's more about whatever it is. For me, it was project management, right? Whether it's marketing or communications, or I'm an inspiring cheerleader, or I'm the person who knows this certain technology. Like, figuring out what that thing is in you. Again, I think we become obsessed with the job, instead become obsessed with the thing that like ticks in you. And that thing can apply in multiple places. And then you just got to show up. I mean, I cannot say this so much, but like, attitude does matter. People like to be around friendly, engaging people who are easy to work with. Like, that's just a much better outcome. I mean, if you think about all the projects you've been on, who was the easiest to work with? It wasn't always the person who was the smartest, right? It was the person who was willing to, be part of a team. And I don't think there's almost any job anymore that you don't work on a team. Honestly, I can't even think of something that you're not working on a team. So get over this concept of like, I can't wait for high school to be done or college to be done, so I don't have to do team projects anymore. I'm like, yeah, guess what? You are doing team projects for the rest of your life, and you are just simply not going to always like everyone on your team. And so figuring out how to be in that environment, I think, is really critical.
Excellent.
Yeah, of course.
What I'm hearing for our high school students at home that might be listening to this episode is take charge and dive into your group projects with gusto. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, or be the person who can, like, for me, leadership was just a natural space.
Sure.
But like, for some it's not, and that's okay too. Like, maybe the answer is I want to be the person who shows up, who is contributing the knowledge and expertise, and I show up with the most research, and I show up, maybe I'm the quieter person, but my value is listening and consolidating all the notes. Like, there's so many ways you can
collaboration
show up.
takes pieces.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we become obsessed with being the leader. And I often, with my teams too, as people are talking about promotion pathways, I ask them some questions like, do you really want to manage people? Like, you got to think about that, because it sounds so great. It's not. I mean, it can be really rewarding, but it's hard, right?
Okay.
And so figuring out all of those pieces and recognizing, if we were all leaders, do you think we would get anything done as a team?
Good point.
Right? So thinking about the fact that, like, and there's a ton of different like surveys you can do out there, but like, we do them a lot with our team of like the questioner and the protector and the
roles, yes.
And recognizing without them, each of those roles, a project is likely not going to get done. And so it's okay that you decide where you fit in. And that's where that deep piece is, like, who do I want to be and where do I want to fit into this? Because sometimes it's like, I don't actually want to be the one leading the meeting. I want to show up, I want to do my piece and contribute. What you can't be is, I'm going to hide in the corner and go do it by myself.
That's very true. All right. Any other questions? Yes.
So my question is around decision making, and I hear that as being something that's really important in your role as a leader, but also these students are making a lot of decisions. And so my question is, what's your decision making process externally, and also what is the internal dialogue that supports you? So like the external and the internal, what advice would you have, or what have you learned about decision making?
Yeah, I mean, decision making feels so great. Everyone on my team is always like, I want decision making. I want to know exactly what decisions I can make. And I'm like, great, make these decisions. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, never mind. I actually don't want to make those decisions, right? It's kind of like leadership. Everyone wants to be in charge, and then kind of like, but not really. Decision making is something that has to get done at every level of the organization. And for me, I think we really lean into this concept again of stakeholders. Like, not everyone needs to approve everything. So we use some language which is approve, include, and inform. So it's like, who does need to approve this? And is it just a single person, or is there a team of people? Single's obviously always better, but sometimes you have to have layers in an organization of approval. Who needs to be included? Like, I'm meeting with you, I'm collecting your input to influence my decision, but ultimately you're not making the decision, right?
Sure.
Me or someone else is making the decision. And who do we just need to inform? Like, hey, this decision's been made. So I think thinking about that, when you're a small company, I think this has actually been one of my challenges. When we were a small company, I could be like, everyone was included in everything. And then all of a sudden people are like, I don't understand why I'm not in this meeting anymore. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I would get nothing done if I included everyone on everything we do. So finding that balance of like, you want enough stakeholder input so you don't make a stupid decision, but recognizing that this isn't a world and space in which we can get everyone's opinion on everything we ever do. So I think figuring that out and leaning into that language. But I think sometimes we think we know what people are thinking. I'm guilty of that. And so we have definitely been starting, especially if we've been growing, like we're doing a hotel expansion, and we're like, okay, let's go interview all the stakeholders, consolidate that, turn it into what do we learn in actions, and then bring it back out to them. Did we hear you correctly? And thinking about the language you use that is like making it clear, like, no, we're not all going to approve this together, but we're not ignoring all of the valuable input that is coming from the users or team or stakeholders in the process.
Excellent. Can we get 1 to 2 more questions? Yeah, Tal.
Thank you for coming here.
Yeah.
And to Attollo for all the information and everything that you have shared with us. My question is, so Rock Lititz has become much bigger than just one company. How did you think about building an ecosystem instead of just a business?
Oh, I love that, because that is we're rewriting our vision right now, and we just put the word ecosystem in it. So thank you. First of all, I'm going to go back into the marketing team, like, see, we were right, you guys. I think this is where, this is a long answer, so I'll make it really short, but this is where I think sometimes I have learned as a female to not just, I'll act like the guys, never mind, I bring something to the table, like, hit this phase where I'm like, I have this really unique perspective, and so I think not always, and not classifying, but in general, often women will be more like, especially I think when I hit that mom phase where it was like, oh man, my job is to bring everyone together constantly. I just had this realization as we were talking, like I sort of inherited this incredible community of companies that work together organically. They didn't purposely do it. They didn't have a name to it. But I watched and I was like, oh, this is really fascinating. And this is where that gift is seeing from the outside. And I realized like what made it special was that reliance upon each other and this concept that we were better collectively, than we were as one. And so we started off truly to just build a rehearsal studio. And then it was like, oh, all these companies are coming here and like asking about space. Let's be a landlord and build space for them. And the community, that ecosystem, I think is when we were like, oh, well, they're here for a reason. We owe them more than just being their landlord. Like, how do we bring people together? And about it, it's really not, it's not super easy. Like, everyone needs different things. Like, some days it's exhausting. Some days there's like 50 requests. And I'm like, I don't know how to meet these. But at the end of the day, I think I was watching companies rely on each other in a unique way and serving our customers better because of it. And I think that's, if you keep that guiding light of like, as much as I talked all about people, because that's what it is about, at the end of the day, without a customer who pays the bill, we don't exist. And so if you keep that guiding light, I think you can easily realize what does that customer need to be more effective. And it was, hey, they need all of us to collaborate and rely on each other because we show up better with a final product to them. Yeah. Well, thank you for using ecosystem. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for your time and
Yes.
being here today. We have absolutely enjoyed this session. Can we get one last round of applause thanking Andrea for her time?